Marvin Vettori defeats Paulo Costa via unanimous decision at the UFC Fight Night event last night. I'm here to talk about it. Before I do, my name is Rahul J. Chan. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. If you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'm getting really good at saying that really quickly, but I am a little bit cognizant of the fact that people might not be catching what I'm saying. All I am saying is subscribe to my channel. That's all I want. More subscribers. I need more subscribers. But let's talk about the fight. Actually, before we talk about the fight, I think I have to address some of the shenanigans that were going on during fight week with regards to what weight class this fight was contested at, right? And I was itching, I was clucking to make a video about how things were unfolding. But to be honest with you, I was a little bit out of the loop. I just wasn't sure what had happened, how we got from a catch weight at 195 pounds to 205 pounds, because I was at a friend's wedding, right? I was at a friend's wedding and I didn't want to sit there and I wouldn't have obviously made a video during the wedding, but there was a gap, right? And I was thinking of making a video in that gap, but then like I didn't actually know what had happened, right? And look, here's a picture from the wedding, just happens to be here. Here's one I made earlier. Look, here's me and my mate. This isn't the mate that got married, but that's us drunk at a photo booth at the wedding. But yeah, the shenanigans. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, man. It made me like Paulo Costa even more. I totally appreciate that there are rules, and it was very disrespectful, underhanded what he did and how he did it. And if I was Marvin Vettori, I would be very pissed off. But I've grown to enjoy Paulo Costa's character on social media over the last couple of months. I really respect him for the way he's picked up English and how well he speaks the language, considering where he was about a year, 18 months ago. But what I liked about the way he carried himself this week, and this might be a bit of a controversial view, and I've already said, but I need to reiterate, I appreciate it was wrong what he did, and I appreciate that he should be reprimanded for his actions this week. But people were speculating about why he did what he did, and people were talking about, is he injured? People were talking about, did he take camp seriously? I just feel like he's disgruntled. I feel like he's disgruntled with the UFC. He's been vocal about it in the past. There was an issue where the UFC posted that a deal had been signed for him to fight Jared Cannonier, and he came out and said, no, I've not agreed to fight him. The money's too little. I just feel like it was just a show of petulance, almost like a petulant schoolchild that is doing things to annoy his teachers because he doesn't get along with his teachers. And I feel a bit bad for kind of using that analogy, comparing it to that situation, because I do actually sympathize with Paulo Costa a little bit, because I feel like this is how I think he feels, that he climbed to the top of the tree, he had a title shot, and I feel like he felt that he didn't get paid what he deserves in terms of the effort and energy he puts into his career in terms of training, dieting, etc. And I just like I just like how oblivious and aloof he was, and how he was putting it on Marvin Vettori. Like if you're gonna, usually when people miss weight, they come in and they're very humble about it, and oh, I'm really sorry, training camp wasn't what it's supposed to be. I retained too much water as I was flying over here. And Paulo Costa literally didn't take any responsibility for the fact that he was overweight. To the point where he was saying to Marvin Vettori, oh, if you don't fight me at this weight, then you're a chicken. And saying that, no, why are you trying to take a percentage of my purse? Like acting like he didn't quite understand the logic behind it all. There was that random video that the UFC put out where Brett Okamoto was doing a Zoom call with both of them, and Marvin Vettori, just his face and how kind of taken aback, like just the shock on his face when some of the stuff that Paulo Costa was coming out with, and Marvin Vettori was like, have you been drinking, bro? Have you been drinking? I found that all entertaining. Actually, prior to the fight, I feel like Marvin Vettori gained a lot from the whole situation, because the way he dealt with it, and you have to commend him, you have to hold your hands up and say, you know what, well done, because Marvin Vettori is a guy that didn't really cover himself in glory, I believe, in the build up to the Izzy fight, and he made himself look even worse in the way he reacted to the decision of that fight against Izzy, the rematch, where he clearly lost and he walked away saying that he felt like he won, which didn't make much sense. I feel like this kind of totally redeemed himself, kind of like in terms of, the way he was just so up for a fight, and he was just like, no, I'll fight you at any weight, whatever. And actually, Paulo Costa is a very, very, very dangerous opponent, a guy that's naturally bigger than Vettori. It would have been to Vettori's advantage if Costa had to cut down to 185, but the way that Vettori was just so ready to fight him at whatever weight he wanted, you have to respect him for it, and I do respect him for it, and I'm glad it happened, because when the fight started, are you not entertained? Like, I was just so entertained by the way the fight was unfolding, because the way the commentators were going on about Costa, oh, he's injured, he's gassing. I wasn't really like, I didn't really feel like he was gassing, and the reason why I didn't feel like that is because the way his body language and the way he was fighting with his mouth open, that's what he did against Yoel Romero after the first round. But he was just able to persevere, and I felt like Costa had enough in the tank to do the 3 rounds. It was just whether he would really gas in the 4th and 5th, and he didn't. He just kept going. In fact, he came back and he won the 5th round. I do sympathise a little bit with Costa in terms of the way that point got taken away from him in the 2nd round for the eye poke. Obviously it's to the referee's discretion, but I didn't see any warnings prior, but the referee did say, he did shout out, close your hand or whatever, don't hold your hand in that position. So, it is what it is. But even then, the way Paulo Costa was kind of saying, no, why you take point? At that point, when the referee took the point, the way he was protesting that, almost, again, very heelish, as I've heard Ariel Helwani mention over this week, along with Chuck Mindahall and Pizzi in the preview podcast they did for the fight. They were talking about Costa, acting like an old school pro wrestling heel. The fight, like I said, it was very entertaining, and I really, 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 like, Costa hit Vettori with some heavy kicks and punches, and the way Vettori just ate them up, man. Like, there's there's having a granite chin is one thing, but just the way that Vettori just kept coming forward, man. It's not how hard you get hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep getting up, or whatever that fucking saying is, because that's what Vettori did in this fight, because he didn't show any signs of damage or pain. It was only kind of towards the end, like the 5th round, where Paulo Costa caught Vettori to the body a few times. You could see Vettori kind of physically slowing down a little bit, but even then his poker face was spot on. Like, honestly, it's a weird situation where I've come away from this fight with more respect for Costa for the wrong reasons, and more respect for Vettori for the right reasons. Do you know what I mean? I honestly thought Costa would win that fight, if I'm being honest with you. And like the post-fight press conference again, Vettori, I felt like he kind of gained some more fans by the way he was talking and carrying himself. He wasn't as obnoxious as I've seen him in the past, and you have to respect the grind. You have to respect the dedication that he shows in and outside of the octagon, man. And I've always had a bit of a soft spot for him, because he used to train at London Shoot Fighters, which is a gym close to me. So even though I've never met him or seen him, or I've never been to that gym, to be honest, I just have a soft spot for him for that simple reason. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Paulo. Like Vettori, like he's in an awkward position, because he's clearly one of the best in the division, but he's lost to the champ twice now. So it'll be very and comprehensively at that, the second time. So it'll be difficult for him to justify another title shot against Izzy. So I just feel like he needs to stay active, just fight anyone and keep winning and keep getting better, because I feel like his stand-up has really, really improved over his last few fights. And I feel like if he just keeps getting that experience in the octagon, keeps training, keeps getting better on his feet, he's just going to get to a level where I don't know whether he'll beat Izzy, but I don't know whether Izzy will remain champion, and he'll be in a position where he will definitely still be capable of challenging for a belt against a different fighter, if that makes sense. Paulo Costa, on the other hand, it's a funny one, man, because you can sense that Paulo Costa's conflicted, because he wants to fight at 185 pounds, but he doesn't want to put in the time and effort or the dedication to his diet that he has to put in to get to that weight. Because he doesn't feel like he's been compensated well enough. I felt like this week he was trying to see how the UFC react to him and whether he does actually get cut. And I feel like he was quite cool with the idea of getting cut by the UFC. But off the back of that performance, I can't see the UFC cutting him. And actually, if he digs his heels in and he is adamant that he's only going to fight at 185 pounds, then I feel like the UFC will let him do that. But I feel like the 205 pound division is there for the taking. I feel like off the performance last night, Paulo Costa would have beaten most of the light heavyweights in the top 10 of that division. It just so happens he came up against someone that just has this insane ability to absorb punishment. Like I've never seen. I don't know if there's anyone that has a better chin than Vettori in the game at this moment. And actually, people that tend to have good chins, they tend to get involved in these firefights and absorb a lot of damage. But one thing that Vettori did yesterday really well is avoid getting hit by Costa. And he managed to deal with Costa's style really, really well. It was a very impressive performance by Vettori, in my humble opinion. Just quickly want to touch on a couple of other things that happened on this card. Two British lads fought Mason Jones against David Onoma. David Onoma, a late replacement, a guy that not a lot of people had heard of, and he gave Mason Jones a lot of troubles, man. And it pains me to say this, but I wasn't very impressed with Mason Jones's performance, and he didn't seem very impressed himself, to be fair, because he was saying that his gas tank just wasn't there. But I don't know whether it was just a cardio issue. It just felt like he was just a fraction of a step too slow last night, even though he did get the win and he deserved to win. It wasn't a robbery by any means. He won the fight, but it was just the fact that he was fighting a guy that is actually a featherweight. He was much bigger than David Onoma, but Onoma was beating him to the punch a lot of the time, and that's a bit of a worry, because what I've seen from Mason Jones in his 3 fights in the UFC is he gets hit a lot. Right, he's a guy that's got a good chin, but he gets hit a lot, and that's the opposite to what I was just talking about with Marvin Vettori. So I don't know, man. I don't know whether Mason Jones just isn't fighting as well as he can, or he was just fighting people that aren't as good as in Cage Warriors, whether he was fighting people that just aren't at this level, and the level he's fighting at in the UFC isn't the top 10 at the moment. You know, these are guys that are unranked. So I don't know, man. He's a guy that I really like. He's got a very enjoyable style. He's very aggressive, but it's just something needs to change. Something that doesn't need to change is Jai Herbert, because he's a guy that I really like his style. He's very technically clean the way he works, and he got that win last night against Camo Worthy. And it was a very clean, precise knockout. And what I enjoyed even more was the post-fight interview. Hold that. When he was saying that, I actually had to rewind it and show my brother. And my brother enjoyed it. He laughed at the post-fight interview. Man are getting smoked out here, B. That's exactly what he said at the end of the interview. And was it Brendan Fitzpatrick, is that his name? And Paul Felder, they didn't understand that. Hold that. They thought he was saying all that, but he was saying no, hold that, every time he was connecting on Camo Worthy. But anyway, I enjoyed the card last night. I actually watched a lot of the undercard, just because the 2 British guys were fighting. I didn't watch any of them. I watched the Alex Caceres fight, actually. And then I watched the Vettori Costa fight, because in between that, I was watching KSW, I was watching Bits of Glory, I watched Fedor knockout Timothy Johnson, who came out to "I am a real American, fight for my rights." He came out to that in Russia and got knocked out. Which is, it's funny, but it's sad at the same time, innit? But anyway, I'm dragging on. I'm going to make a video about Bellator, because earlier on this morning, I was listening to, again, the same Ariel Helwani, Pete Carroll, Chuck Millenhall podcast, and they were discussing how Bellator have really started to gain traction. No, they haven't, in my humble opinion. So I'm going to make a video about that soon. But anyway, I've got to go, man, because it's now 2:30. I'm missing West Ham hopefully beating the shit out of Spurs, and in half an hour we got a big game in the cricket, India against Pakistan, hence this shirt that I'm wearing today. So I've got to edit this bitch up and sit in front of the TV, crack open a beer and watch India beat Pakistan again. Comment below, like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.